Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing no contact rule, time freeze. I provide audio and email coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details, www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing no contact rule, time freeze. If you have been dumped, lots of people suggest you implement the no contact rule. There are many different versions of the no contact rule that you can find online, and I believe that my version will give you the best possible chance of success. Using no contact correctly will increase the chance of you one day getting your ex back. But there are some situations where no contact works slower than others. It can almost feel like there is a time freeze. In today's podcast, I'm going to be telling you of 3 scenarios in which no contact will likely work at a slower pace. If you want to learn more about my version of a no contact rule, please make sure you subscribe and ring the bell for notifications on my YouTube channel. There you will find a playlist entitled The No Contact Rule. Please click this playlist and listen to the whole of it from start to finish, and you can familiarise yourself with my version of a no contact rule and fully understand as for why I believe it will give you the best possible chance of success. But as I said in today's podcast, I'm going to be giving you 3 reasons as for why sometimes no contact will work slower than others, and it can almost feel like there has been a time freeze. So let's get straight into this, and number 1 is huge responsibilities. So if the dumper is somebody who has huge responsibilities, this could be a situation where no contact works less quickly. And the reason for this is because if somebody has huge responsibilities, they are less likely to experience the life they envisioned after they ended the relationship. So examples of huge responsibilities could be something such as a very important, serious, stressful job, which takes a lot of time. Or alternatively, it could be regarding somebody who has to care for a family member, or maybe that is part of their job. Maybe this blends together. Maybe they are a carer, in which once again they are using a lot of their time caring for somebody. The other possibility is that the dumper has children, and of course this is a huge responsibility, and depending on their family and friends network might dictate how much free time they have as a newly single parent. If the dumper has huge responsibilities, then they are less likely to be able to experience the honeymoon period of being single. And the honeymoon period, in essence, is where somebody becomes single and lives the life that they always imagined it would be. So when 2 people are in a relationship, they both feel a high level of romantic emotional attraction for one another. For various potential reasons, this level can unfortunately drop sometimes, and if it hits a certain low point, this is when one or both people will be thinking of ending the relationship. At this stage, they will be imagining single life. They will be thinking what they can do outside of this relationship that during the relationship they are unable to do. This is the honeymoon period. This is the life that they are imagining after they end the relationship. Somebody will only end a relationship if they feel that they will get more fulfillment outside of this connection. So if and when somebody becomes single, what ordinarily happens is they will live that life. They will live that single life that they imagined. This could be anything from going to more parties, to socializing more, or to experiencing life in different directions that their partner wouldn't have approved of, wouldn't have liked, wouldn't have enjoyed. If somebody can't live the honeymoon life that they imagined, if somebody can't live the life that they planned out in front of them after they ended the relationship, then unfortunately the no contact rule will have less effect at a slower pace on this particular type of dumper. And this is because they need to go through this period of their life. They can't theoretically get to a point in their life where they regret the breakup if they are not feeling that they've given their life the best shot in this direction. You have to understand that lots of dumpers decide to reconcile only once they realise that their life without their former partner isn't as good as they imagined it might have been. And this level of reflection can't take place until they live that life. Now, as I've said, quite often the life doesn't end up being as happy and as exciting as it may have seemed, and often the excitement will start to wane over time. Of course, we can't always say this, and there is no 100% guaranteed way to get your ex back, and the no contact rule will not work 100% of the time in regards to getting your ex back. But it will always create intrigue, and it will always help yourself as a dumpee, and that is why in some respects at least the no contact rule will always work. But when we're talking about whether the no contact rule will always get your ex back, that unfortunately does not always happen, but it will certainly work slower if your ex has got huge responsibilities, if your ex is somebody who doesn't have time to socialise with new people, if they don't have time to experience the life that they always planned in their mind, then they can't get out the other side once they realise that this shiny, exciting life doesn't last forever, and all of a sudden things that seemed new and exciting start to feel dull and mundane. This is something that can't happen until they live that life. So if the dumper has huge responsibilities, if they have children with no childcare, if they have a very serious, responsible job which takes up a lot of their time, if they are somebody who has caring responsibilities, whether this is part of their job or maybe this is regarding their family, all of these reasons are types of examples of where a dumper can't live that life, and they need to use that as an opportunity to discover how they feel. And often, if a dumpee uses no contact during this period, this is when a dumper will realise that they have made the wrong choice. They will realise that their life with their former partner wasn't as bad as it seemed at the time, and instead, the loneliness of single life starts to kick in, and it really does lose its appeal as an alternative. This can't happen if it is not experienced. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about why sometimes no contact can go through an almost time freeze due to circumstance. And point number 2 is you live together. So limited contact is a form of no contact which can prove successful if you work together or have children but live apart. However, if you still live with your ex, then even limited contact is going to prove hard to see success. It's almost impossible to live together, implement limited contact, and not come across as awkward. This is why living together can be another example as why no contact can feel like it's going through a time freeze. So if you are a dumpee and you want to try to get your ex back, you need to be trying your hardest to find alternative living arrangements. If you are living together, you are going to find it very, very hard indeed to get no contact to work for you. Living together, as I've just said, prevents you from using a full no contact, and even using limited contact is not going to prove as easy as you might have hoped. Limited contact can have success when you work together, or maybe you see each other because you have to pick up your children, or maybe you have the children living with you and your partner comes to see you. Those ways limited contact can prove successful. However, if you are living together, then limited contact is going to be very, very challenging because you can't maintain that distance whilst living together without coming across as awkward. And the key when you're using limited contact is not to seem awkward. It's to be happy, carefree and fun. And that can only be shown in this type of situation if you are seeing each other in a small, limited way. If you are seeing each other for a small amount of time. If you live together and you are knowing that you are in your room and your former partner is in their room, and you're thinking, do we eat together? How do we cross paths? All of these things are going to make things very, very awkward, and they are not congruent with trying to get your ex back. So if you're a dumpy, if you're trying to get your ex back, if you're implementing my version of a no contact rule or my version of limited contact, please make sure that you arrange as soon as possible different living arrangements. You can't live with your ex and expect to get back together. It is very, very unlikely that you will be able to get your ex back from a position of living together after you have been dumped. So now let's move into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about no contact time freeze. And point number 3 is dumper can't leave the house. So if the dumper is unable to leave their house due to government restrictions, prison, or illness, or any other potential possibility, then this in essence is similar to point number 1. They can't experience single life. And if they can't go through the honeymoon period of being single, they are unlikely to get to the stage where they might regret their decision. So very similar to point number 1, but for very different reasons. Point number 3 is where a dumper can't leave the house due to government restrictions, due to illness, due to them being in prison, or any other possibility in which they want to leave the house, but they can't leave the house. They want to socialise with new people, but they can't socialise with new people. They need to get this out of their system. A dumper needs to live this part of their life. They need to get it out of their system. They need to go through the honeymoon period of being single. And if you are a dumpy and you want to try to get your ex back, you actually want your ex to be going through this. This might sound counterintuitive. You might be thinking, well, I don't want my ex going to parties. I don't want my ex mixing with new people. They might meet somebody else. Well, unfortunately, this is a risk that you need to take. This is something that has to happen. And although there are possibilities where a dumper will go out, meet somebody new, get into a new relationship, and it lasts long term, the likelihood is that if they meet somebody new during these early weeks and months, this will not be a connection which lasts long. It will likely be a rebound relationship, and I talk about that more in other podcasts. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring the bell for notifications so you can check out all of my content on rebound relationships. But if your ex, the dumper, can't leave the house, then they can't experience life. They can't go through the honeymoon period. And if you are a dumpy, if you want your ex back, then you actually want them to go through this, because if they don't go through this, they are less likely to have that reflection that things have gone wrong. Like I've just said, we can't guarantee this will always happen. But what I can say is that if it doesn't happen, if they don't go through this period of their life, they will generally have to. And all this means is you are going through a time freeze. The no contact rule will work slower. The no contact rule will pull your ex closer towards you at a much slower pace, because unless they live this life, they don't know that it's not working for them. Unless they live this life, they don't realise that it will soon become boring. Unless they live this life, they won't realise that you are better than other people that they meet. You must, as a dumpy, hope your ex goes through this honeymoon period. They need to live their life. And if you are to get back together, this is something they will have to do. So of course it is a risk in your mindset. Of course there is the chance that they will meet somebody new and they will get together with them long term, but you can't restrict that. And let me tell you, if they don't do this, if they don't live this life as soon as possible, they will live it later down the line. So you can't really avoid this happening as a dumpy. So you might as well hope that it happens as soon as possible, because if it doesn't, then the no contact freeze will really slow this time down of if and when you can get your ex back. Now, it's important for me to say at the end of this podcast that if you are a dumpy, you should never be waiting around. You should never be clock watching. You should never be standing still. There is no 100% guaranteed way to get your ex back. And even if you use my version of a no contact rule, there is no guarantee that one day in the future you will get your ex back. Nothing can be guaranteed. But what I can say is that using my version of a no contact rule will increase the possibility of you one day getting your ex back. But you shouldn't be standing still. You need to live your life, you need to push forward, and you need to mix with new people. Because if you do this, not only will you attract your ex through various different reasons that I speak of in other podcasts, but you will also give yourself the opportunity to meet somebody even better than your ex. And you might feel this is impossible, but trust me, it's very possible indeed. I don't mind if you get your ex back or not, as long as if you don't get them back, you find somebody even better. My aim is to guide you towards happiness and a brighter future. It doesn't matter if you get your ex back or find somebody even better. The only important result is that you are happy in the future. So don't restrict your possibility of meeting somebody even better. Please make sure you aren't sitting around, you aren't clock watching, and you move forward, making new connections and seeing what life has in store for you, because you never know what's around your next corner. And if you move forward with positivity, it will likely be happiness. With or without your ex, you will have a positive future. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent Bo, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back, or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, you know Vincent Bo got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.